sort of, different degrees, different levels, is really complete absorption in an experience, right? Now, that can be sort of an achievement-oriented, goal-driven, productive experience. So you might get completely lost. The classic example are video games. Video games are built for flow. You can get lost in them. There's a very clear goal. There's typically a very precise, dialed in, what we call challenge skills ratio. There's complexity, there's unpredictability, there's a lot of psychological drivers of attention and focus. And you can kind of assess this even on a neurochemical level. So the product of that tends to be being one with the experience. There's actually a deactivation of the prefrontal cortex, which results in the distortion of time, right? And the loss of sense of self. So the inner critic shuts down, time passes either really quickly or really slowly. And as a byproduct, a bit of the subconscious becomes more activated, and we tend to perform at a really high level. We might be processing faster, we might be more creative, but that oneness and that loss of sort of the external sense of self, that oneness with the experience, I think oftentimes gets translated as some sort of spiritual or mystical experience as well, right? This connection with something that goes beyond just sort of, meta-awareness, so to speak. So you'll see different iterations or different kind of conceptualizations of the flow state, but that kind of runs the gamut. Group flow then is sort of experiencing that state, that phenomena with other people. And this could be in a group, but I think, technically you would define a group as just more than one person, right? So you could have it in just an interpersonal conversation with one other individual. Clients I'll work with, one particular guy stands out, big real estate guy in New York City, and he was struggling to kind of find time to build in what we would call flow blocks, right? Where he could really sit down, intentionally get into this state and produce. And he was struggling to find that time because he had to be on phone calls all the time. Part of his job and his role was very social and very network based. So what we did is we went through kind of different characteristics of group flow, or in this case, flow with pairs, right? And kind of said, okay, how can you more mindfully listen, be more in tune to the conversation, establish sort of a shared purpose, and really immerse yourself into the experience in a way that enhances the conversation, allows you to get lost, makes it more productive, makes it more useful in some way, shape, or form. And that was very transformational for him. He came back a few weeks later during our next session together and said that it had really kind of transformed his day-to-day operation. And I think that can be a fundamental enhancer of relationships as well, because the team is really gelling together in various ways. And we're just starting, I think, to really understand more about group flow. There was just a couple papers that came out of kind of the European flow research group within the last month or so that are actually starting to identify kind of the neurological signatures of group flow. Up to this point, it's been a lot of psychological. Your listeners might be interested, if they want to know more, check out a great book called Group Genius by Keith Sawyer. And that's kind of the foundation of a lot of psychological group flow research, but neuroscience is going to drill down more granular over the next few years, I think.
Yeah, I think this is great stuff, because not only are we talking just about peak performance for athletes, we're kind of touching on every human on earth, and they can experience and not only just enhance their performance, they can be a better functioning human in all segments of their life, actually. And it was funny how when you were just iterating all these great things about flow, what came to my mind was it becomes such a great concept where now it's more understandable why in combat certain groups work better than others, or certain teams work better together to achieve their goal, because they're all zoned into and they tap into that zone we call flow. And I think that might be a bit better way for my listeners to sort of understand that. But it was great. I loved how you put it out there.